Hey, what's going on? This is DJ Sports. We're back in with another episode. It's been a while since you're gonna be back here with Reese. We're gonna talk about everything NFL. The season just started a couple of weeks ago. Everything's in full force. We had a lot of crazy games the first 2 weeks, a lot of storylines, a lot of things to talk about. So Reese, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, man. Excited to get these going again.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get into the football, why don't we have our beer segment? I don't have one today, but Reese has one that I would love to hear about.
Yeah, of course I have one. Just happen to have one in the fridge. So this one is, God, I need to make sure I'm reading this right. It's Thorn Brewing is the brewery, and it's a Got Nelson IPA. Obviously, if you're looking, it's the beer can that caught me. It's a West Coast IPA 7.0. Um, the flavor profile, it says it's fruity, tropical, notes of white wine and gooseberries, front and center with a dry finish from the Nelson hops. So I guess that's why it's called God Nelson, is because these Nelson hops in it.
Okay.
It is a Thorn. Have you heard of Thorn Brewery? It's a small little one in San Diego.
Thorn Brewery? No, I don't think I have.
Yeah, I would just randomly see them down there. Hmm. I feel like you might actually like this one. Even though it's 7.0 for like an IPA, I feel like you would kind of expect that to be pretty a little bitter and stuff. It's actually really light.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually really good. I'm gonna give that a just because we're back and I'm happy to be back. I'm gonna give it a solid 8.
A solid 8. Okay, love it. Love to see that. Um, so the things I want to talk about in the NFL, we're gonna do a little differently. We're gonna have our storylines. I'm gonna ask you some questions. We're gonna do our week 3 previews for all the big games, and then our fantasy check-in. So the first storyline, it is my podcast, so I feel like it's appropriate to talk about the Rams. Because I've been very happy with our quarterback and the offense so far. I think it's looked really good, and Stafford looks like he already has like a amazing relationship with Cooper Cup. Like they've been playing together for like 15 years. So far, Cup's been lighting up the league's in. He's second in receiving yards. And Robert Woods, he hasn't maybe had as many yards, but he's still making clutch plays. The offense is playing really well. Reese, what are your thoughts looking at it from a neutral party?
Yeah, I mean, I think everything you kind of said, everything with Matt Stafford, like I guess my whole thing with this Rams team is just the questions that we would still have with them that we had coming into the year with like their run game and stuff like that. I think the expectation of Matthew Stafford and Cooper Cup, all that kind of stuff is, I think that was there. A lot of people would be pretty disappointed if they weren't clicking the way that they were, not to give them credit, because like you said, I think for it to work as nicely as it has in these first 2 games is obviously pretty impressive. But moving forward, I don't think that, Sean McVay and this Rams team is off the hook in terms of questions. I think I'm a little bit, just as like a little bit of an outsider looking in, maybe you can answer this a little bit better, but I am still a little bit worried about that rush game and just who's going to carry them all year and stuff like that. Because they traded a lot away for Sony Michel, but it doesn't look like he's really getting the work that that we were expecting from him. So is it just going to be the Darrell Henderson show all year, or like what are we expecting there?
So right now Henderson's hurt. He has bruised ribs, and so there's a chance he misses game time. Sony, I believe, had 10 carries last week against the Colts. You know, honestly looked pretty decent, all things considered. I think he had 10 carries for 46 yards, something like that.
Okay.
And I think he did, pretty solid for someone who basically came off the street and wasn't on a team a couple of weeks ago, and just thrust into this role, into a new offense. Whether it's sustainable, we'll obviously find out. But the thing I like about Sony is that he can catch passes. He did a lot of that in New England. He's good, out of the backfield receiving, and I can imagine that we're going to be throwing the ball a lot. Like and what we saw. The thing is, I look at the Ravens, right? The Baltimore, the running backs, they lost so many of their players due to injury. You have Devontae and Le'Veon Bell, who's they've picked up. So I feel like we can find somebody, hopefully, just to kind of,
Mhm.
and no one's gonna make up like for Cam Akers or if Dale Henderson's hurt longer, for their
Yeah,
production. But I think since we're gonna be passing so much, and hopefully, the only time we're gonna need to run the ball is when we're up late and we need to run the clock. But
yeah,
even though running backs are, you could say that they're less and less value in today's NFL. I think you still need some semblance of a run game. So I think his scheme is good enough to, like, I think, just have any running back you can insert him and it'll work.
yeah. He's always been pretty good about just having that, not only rotating guys in, but I mean, I don't think anybody expected Malcolm Brown to be as valuable as he was down the stretch last year. So it's, yeah, who knows who the hell is going to be there. And like you said, if they're passing, 40 to 50 times a game, then you don't really need a solid workhorse guy like that. So, yeah, I mean, I think everything you said was pretty like, I think it's stuff to be excited for the Rams. The only worry for me and them is obviously that division and how good everybody else in that division looks right now.
Mhm.
But obviously it's early and still a lot of football left to be played. So definitely going to be exciting watching that over there, and especially in that new stadium, man. We got to mention like
No,
watching the
absolutely.
Rams play and like with their jerseys on that turf, it really felt like they finally had a home. And I don't know, like ever since they've been in LA, I've always like struggled with that and stuff. But that was like the first time I was watching the Rams where I was like, dude, like this is the LA football team, like it really, I don't know why. And maybe that pisses you off hearing that, but I just thought the new stadium really just added like a different element to it altogether for sure.
Yeah, definitely glad to have it back. I got some friends texting me, like, they're like, "Hey, that's a nice looking stadium." So can't wait to see it in person. Love seeing it for like a primetime game that we saw it on Sunday night.
Yep.
And it doesn't hurt that you're winning games in there too.
Yeah,
So
oh, absolutely.
speaking of the division, that's a great point. It's going to be a battle. The whole season. We'll see. The Cardinals. I think they've kind of been a little bit surprised, especially their defense. They had an outstanding week one. And the Seahawks, they blew a late lead and lost in overtime. Otherwise, everybody in the division would be undefeated. So, yeah, it'll be a battle throughout. I actually made a bet with one of my coworkers, that the Rams are gonna have a better record than the Niners. He's a Niners fan, so
Hmm.
I think it's gonna be neck and neck throughout the season. We'll see.
I was gonna say the Niners have been a little surprising to me too. Just the fact that they're sitting at 2-0, and I don't know. I just don't feel like they've played the best football. But when you're sitting there at 2-0 and you haven't played the best football, then you got to feel pretty damn good about yourself. So because then it's like crap. Like what's it gonna look like once things start clicking over there?
Right,
But yeah,
and
good.
Niners is that Jimmy. He's looked up and down, and who knows? Like maybe Trey Lance, he steps in at some point, takes them to an even higher level. That would be, I think that would be concerning for the rest of the NFC for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, the quarterback play in this division is just next level right now.
So the Titans had a rough week one. As we mentioned, they got absolutely mauled by the Cardinals. But they bounced back. They were down early in the Seattle game. But it seemed like the offense really started to click. In this, they really found something with Derrick Henry and Julio in the second half. Julio, he carried them the first half. I believe he had like 100 yards receiving in the first half and nearly a touchdown that was called back. And then Derrick Henry just takes over in the second half. So the reason I bring up the Titans is that I feel like they really are the biggest wild card for me in the AFC because um, they have such a high ceiling with all the talent they have. If they can make it all click and connect, in a playoff game, I think they could really beat anybody on a given Sunday, because of just the talent that they have. So How do you feel about that, Reese?
Yeah, I mean, I think just the past couple of years, they've obviously established themselves as a contender in the AFC. But it's just about making that next step and how they're going to beat the Chiefs moving forward, how they're going to, take that leap to actually get to the Super Bowl, because that's obviously their goal. And, that was obviously the whole move with Julio, which, like you said, we saw it in this game, what a player like that can do. But I think what we also saw in this game was like, how valuable it is for them to stick to their like culture and stick to their game plan that they've had that has made them the contender that we're talking about, that a guy like Julio was so excited to even like go to and stuff. So I just think relying on Derrick Henry and making Derrick Henry the focal point of this, or keeping Derrick Henry the focal point of this offense, is so important. And like, yeah, as great as it is that you have, a Ryan Tannehill who can get the job done with like two elite weapons and stuff. I think just like really, really focusing on like even if you have to go like over the top of like just feeding Derrick Henry the ball, and it's like, okay, sweet. Like anytime you do need that relief, you have like the elite passing attack that they can potentially have in those moments. I think it can be unstoppable. But in my opinion, doing what they tried to do week one, where not necessarily fade away from Derrick Henry. I don't think that was like their game script or anything like that, but I do think it was their game script to get Julio involved. And when have the Tennessee Titans ever gone into a football game, trying to pass first on certain downs, trying to, and in certain situations early in a game that can make all the difference. So I just think the Seattle game was huge for them, because not only going into a place like that and winning and, taking over late like that, the way that they did is so impressive, but also just like getting back to their game script. I think this was such an important game for Tennessee. I think it could be pretty scary going forward to see how that can all start to click.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see like them at their full powers with AJ Brown. He's started off a little slow as well, so him, Julio, Derrick Henry. If as long as Tannehill can distribute evenly, that's going to be a team to look out for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. They're still, I don't think week one was anything necessarily to hit, like hang your hat on, especially with like, I don't know about you, but like with the shortened preseason and stuff like that, I think it was a little bit weird week one, where there were some, maybe some scores that, come week 8, come week 9 are going to be kind of surprising in terms of like where they're at, stature wise within the league and stuff. So, hopefully that's not anything to really look at moving forward, but we'll obviously see in the next couple of weeks that they'll have to keep proving it. And I don't know, I wanted to think that they had like not the easiest schedule, but I could, oh no, they did have a super easy schedule. They have the Colts, Jets, and Jaguars coming up. So pretty good, nice little run right there to kind of get something going, and then they go into the Bills and the Chiefs. So it is going to be exciting to watch the Titans over the first half of the season, I think.
Yeah, and when you mentioned kind of the strange scores that we saw week one, the first thing that comes to mind is that Packers Saints game. I think it was reported that Rodgers and the rest of the team didn't really have a full offseason to practice and like get together. And I think we saw some of that week one. They were on the road in Jacksonville and just looked, completely out of sorts and out of sync.
Yeah. And I think a lot of weird things like that across the board, just some sloppy play, and yeah, I think the Tennessee Titans and Cardinals game was a little bit strange, how dominating that defensive line was against an offensive line that I think probably 3 podcasts from now, you and I are going to be talking about how that's one of the best in the league. And oh my God, they're so dominating, all this kind of crap. So they gave up 6 sacks in that game to, was it Chandler Jones?
Taylor Lewan had a rough day. I think he even tweeted that he said like I was awful. I need to play better.
Yeah, and it was almost, I mean, just guys like that, just straight up like admitting defeat. It was just a weird week all around for me. So yeah, I think the Titans are going to be, I mean, they'll be 4-1 going into that Bills game. That would be kind of fun. So kind of the number 2 seeds in the AFC battling it out early, right?
So let's get to the NFC. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Seems like Brady and that offense hasn't skipped a beat at all. They put up 45 points against the Falcons after a high scoring performance against the Cowboys. I think it makes sense that and we saw this coming last year with the COVID offseason, brand new team roster. They start off a little slow, and now that they had a full season, including playoffs, and then another offseason under their belt, it seems like they're really clicking as to what we expected from the team.
Yeah, it's I'm almost just running out of things to say about Tom Brady football teams. I I don't know, man. I feel like not that I keep doubting them, but I don't believe that he could play to this level. I don't believe that the teams are gonna be as good as they are. I don't think that they're gonna like. I mean, if you came out and told me that they were gonna score as many points as they have, yeah, I mean, I just wouldn't believe you. So I just I think Tom Brady is just kind of becoming that guy that you just not becoming that guy, but he still, regardless of age, and as long as he's going to be here, it's like you can't sit there and say like, okay, like it's got to be that season where he shows those signs or anything like that. I just think as long as guys keep wanting to play for this guy, he's going to keep getting it done, type of thing. Because and I like maybe that's what I want to talk about more is like these wide receivers and like all these like guys around him who keep like stepping up. And I don't know, man. It's pretty absurd to watch Antonio Brown have like the comeback that he was having after nobody in the league freaking wanted him, and Gronk coming out of retirement and stuff and still playing at his level when probably a lot of people would have counted a guy like that out. It's just, I don't know, man. It's just absurd what's going on in Tampa Bay. You got Bruce Arians just freaking babysitting them at this point. Like, not to take anything away from the guy, but he's just letting them all, he's just letting all those guys out there just do their damn thing. And it's just incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they're really feel like they have something special there, and they're not worried about anything else. They re-signed the entire what was the starting lineup from the Super Bowl team, which
Yeah.
is unheard of. So yeah, I mean it's honestly a little scary, I would say, because I don't know if or and when there's a team that can stop them, at least in the NFC.
Yeah, and if you're looking at their division and trying to make a case about maybe the Saints, and we'll get into them later and stuff, it's just I just don't see a whole lot of I don't see a whole lot in the way of this team, in terms of schedule, in terms of division, in terms of conference and who they're going up against. I just don't know who's going to be able to compete with them. So yeah, definitely scary.
Yeah, let's get to the AFC. So two of the best teams played each other week one, the Browns and the Chiefs. Browns came out strong early, but the Chiefs rallied as they always do with big plays and barely eked out a win. And then week two, we had the Ravens and Chiefs face off on Monday night, where it was kind of the opposite. The Chiefs were up, and the Ravens came back late due to Clyde fumble that sealed the game. So my question is like, do you have any concerns, even like a little bit, about Kansas City? I know we hold them to such a high standard, or was it more that Cleveland and Baltimore are just two very good teams?
Is 15 still playing?
Yeah, that's not.
I think they'll be all right. Like it is. I think the biggest thing is Clyde and like that, like maybe that run game, but maybe not having a whole lot to hang. Like as we saw in the Super Bowl, like when push comes to shove, like you're gonna need a team around. Like I can make that joke and stuff, but you're gonna need a team around Patrick Mahomes. You're gonna need guys who can like compete and not make costly mistakes, and uh, that happening is exactly why they're sitting at 1-1 right now. Otherwise, I don't think. I just think the story would be a little bit different if that fumble doesn't happen. Like, yeah, they were close games and they were, all of that stuff. But if you're sitting at 2-0, I don't think anybody says a thing. Like we could have talked about Tampa Bay's defense and how many points they're giving up or something like that, but we don't because they're 2-0. So no, I'm not worried about anything going on in Kansas City. I think once they start playing in their division, if they, how divisional matchups can always get and stuff like that. And with the Raiders looking a little scrappy, and everyone had the Chargers being the dark horse and stuff like that. And I don't know, man. I think we have to wait a little bit to say that we're worried about. I wouldn't say any team, but especially a team like the Chiefs. It's way too early to say something like that with them.
Yeah.
Like you're not sitting there thinking that there's like holes in this team or anything like that, right?
No, yeah, I think you said it, like, it's too early, and the only thing I would say is the run game, because they haven't really done much of anything on the ground, but obviously they have other parts of that offense that cover up those holes. So yeah, I'm just really you know really curious to see what happens in the AFC, because we have Cleveland who's shown that they could play with anybody. To go into I believe that was in Kansas City, right? That game. So
Yeah.
to play them that as well as anybody has played a Mahomes team in Arrowhead, and like maybe a game that they feel like they should have won. Um, I think it would say it more speaks to the how good Cleveland and Baltimore are, and then you have the Steelers too, who kind of gotten off slow, but I think it'll be interesting to see who gets the top seeds in the AFC, because it's going to be competitive for sure.
Yeah, I think, like you said, I think it says a lot more about the other teams, and especially Cleveland for me, and just how they're ready to compete. Baltimore, like, not that that was a must win for not that it was a must win for Baltimore, but in a way it was. And I just think Cleveland, and what kind of team, like, for a lot of years we've been asking questions about Cleveland, but especially the last couple questions late in the season about them. And I think building the what is it? Just building the gosh, what's the word? I'm like the character, I guess,
Sure.
to go into such a big, like you said, go into a place like Arrowhead and come out with a win is more than impressive. So, or not come out with a win, but just come out with such like a competitive performance.
Yeah.
I just think it says a lot more about them. I am excited about Cleveland this year for sure.
So we're gonna skip ahead. Andy Dalton is hurt. He's officially been ruled out, which means Justin Fields will be the starter this week against the Browns. This is something that I think Bears fans were like looking for. Especially after week one, they didn't. Andy Dalton didn't have the best performance, and it seems like that offense didn't really get anything going other than David Montgomery. But yeah, Reese, like, just Justin Fields, do you feel like this whole situation has been kind of interesting? Matt Nagy's maintained the whole time that Dalton's been the starter, no matter what. So yeah, what are your thoughts hearing this news?
I mean, Matt Nagy's way too freaking stubborn, and thank God the football gods have his back here. Like, I don't think it ever should have gone as far as it did. I thought maybe something would happen, and, like, I don't know, maybe just preseason wasn't electric enough. And maybe they were waiting for that moment, that play, just to be like, okay, cool, like, Justin Fields is our starter now because everybody agrees that he has to be. And that never really happened in the preseason. So then he just kind of stuck with Andy Dalton. Like, I don't get it. I never got it. I never supported that decision. I thought, I don't know. I thought personally that when your job's on the line the way it was in that Nagy, that you got to go with a guy like Justin Fields. And I'm excited for this. I'm not expecting this guy to win Rookie of the Year, lead this team to the playoffs necessarily, but I am expecting him to be a better and more exciting quarterback than Andy Dalton. And personally, I think having a guy like Andy Dalton behind him in this moment is going to be everything for him. And I think I said that the last time we talked about this and him getting drafted there. So I'm excited for him. I think, mistakes are going to be made. He's going to have a couple probably bad sacks, a couple bad interceptions, but I think I think he is the future for Chicago. So it's about time he gets in there, and to get in there with a good backup quarterback. I think like Andy Dalton behind him, I think it's going to be all right. What about you?
Yeah, he's definitely, more mobile, obviously, just can extend players with his feet. And I think, it just makes the Bears offense a lot more fun to watch. What the results are going to be, I think that's yet to be seen. But, Dalton's been in the league for so long, you kind of know what you're getting with him. He might lead you to like a 6-11 record. But you're the quality of football is going to be pretty bad. Your fans are going to be upset. So I think this was going to happen sooner or later. Because I don't think this Bears team was going to compete for the playoffs, and might as well see what you have in your young quarterback.
Yeah, I think you nailed it on the head with the fans, honestly, because for a long time they've been losing that pretty damn good fan base in terms of football standards and elite standards, in terms of how far they go back and stuff. So I think it's not that you got to get on it now, too late. Like if it doesn't happen now, they're screwed or anything like that. I don't think the Bears are going anywhere. I don't think those fans are going anywhere. But yeah, I think it's about time you do something for them. Because for like 20, 30 years, they've been doing things for the betterment of the football team, and that hasn't gotten them freaking anywhere. So
Right.
maybe just do something that's kind of exciting, do something that a lot of other teams in the league are just taking chances on, which is just, this elite mobile quarterback. And I don't know. I think it'll be, like I said, I'm super excited for it. I think Justin Fields is not that he's going to be like an absolute star or anything like that, but I think he's going to be a starting quarterback in the league and stuff for as long as he stays healthy. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then once they I wanted to say too, like having David Montgomery there and stuff, like they have a good team. So,
Allen Robinson's good too.
yeah, and obviously everyone knows about that defense, Khalil Mack, so and what they're capable of. So it will, yeah. I mean, maybe I spoke too soon about that playoff comment. A change like this could spark a team. So I'm definitely going to be watching this one. I think a lot of people are.
Yeah, so let's get to the questions. Reese, I'm just gonna throw some questions at you, and just to
Oh,
pick your brain, let me know what you think. So Panthers, Raiders, Broncos are all 2-0. Which of that is most surprising?
um, probably the Panthers to me. Um, I think, and I think probably the biggest thing about the Panthers is not only with that being like a lot of new personnel there, obviously we know about like Sam Darnold and stuff like that, but it's this Matt Rule. A lot of people don't believe in this whole college coach switching over to the NFL, and we know he didn't have the best of years last year. That was obviously marred a little bit by injury and stuff like that. So I think a lot of offseason questions that a lot of people didn't get answers to with the Panthers, with like Sam Darnold and how he was going to look and stuff. So, yeah, I think it's definitely them. And then I was actually looking it up before the podcast, and they have like a top 5 defense in the league too, which is pretty absurd to even like think about or even consider that the Carolina Panthers have a top 5 defense. But
Right.
yeah. So I think everything about them has been pretty surprising. I know they haven't had the toughest of schedules or anything like that. I know week 1 was a little bit different in terms of storylines against the Jets and stuff like that, but that obviously isn't a very good team, and they didn't win very convincingly or anything like that. But still, I think being 2-0, winning football games is hard in this league. And yeah, it would definitely be them for me. But do you think like were you going to go Raiders or Broncos on that one, or were you thinking the same thing?
I was actually thinking the Raiders
Okay,
because
I'm glad you said that because I wanted to get them a mention too.
yeah, so a lot of I guess a lot of shade to be thrown towards the Raiders after how last season ended, and John Gruden's couldn't do it, washed up. Of course, it's so early in the season, but to go 2-0 against the Steelers and the Ravens, I think is impressive, especially last week they were on the road and held the Steelers to only 17 points. So I have to give them credit. They pulled out a crazy game against the Ravens week 1. Their defense has actually, been really good. Derek Carr has been making some great throws. He had a bomb to Henry Ruggs last week. And I feel like it's obviously been only 2 weeks, but he's slowly, maybe looking like the old Derek Carr that we saw when he was a potential MVP candidate a couple years ago. So maybe something to look out for. Raiders might be a sneaky playoff team. There was going to be at least one of those in the AFC because there's 7 spots. So one of these teams that's in the tier of the Raiders, Broncos, Dolphins. One of those teams are gonna sneak in. So it might be the Raiders.
Yeah, no, and that's why I'm glad you mentioned the Raiders, especially just because of their schedule. I mean, it's been impressive for them to win the way that they have. And especially with Derek Carr, like you said, playing the way that he has. It's been I always thought that Derek Carr was one of the most disrespected quarterbacks in the league, and I think this year might be one of those years that he kind of proves it. And for example, all off season, a lot of people are throwing all that shade with Tom Brady's interview and stuff like that, thinking that I think a lot of people were questioning who he was talking about, whether or not it was Chicago with Andy Dalton or Las Vegas with Derek Carr, and personally, I didn't really get into all of that stuff. I didn't try to guess all of that stuff. I just personally thought, I was like, who the hell, who cares what Tom Brady thinks about this guy? It's like, I think Derek Carr is freaking legit. I've always thought he was legit. Just as a Broncos fan who has seen him twice a year, he's never been a quarterback who's been fun to play against, and it's like, what more can you ask other than a quarterback that makes it hard on the defense, and I don't know. I think Derek Carr's always had the talent and stuff, and now they definitely have a lot of the personnel around him with pass catchers and running backs and stuff. And yeah, if that defense steps up, then like you said, this is definitely a dark horse playoff team. And once they get into playoffs, it's not a team that I think people really want to see. So,
right, trying to contain Darren Waller. I don't think anybody wants to see that man in the playoffs. So speaking of the Steelers, they had a bit of a slow start. At least offensively, they struggled against the Bills, even though they pulled out a win. And then at home against the Raiders, they only scored 17 points. So my question is Big Ben done? Is it over for him, or has it been over already?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, I think it's been the writing's been on the wall with Big Ben, and it's probably just and I hate to say it because I've always respected the guy, but it'll probably be injuries and stuff that really get him, I guess. He's been such a quarterback's not I think we forget when we talk about Tom Brady and stuff like that and his batch of quarterbacks and stuff like that. I think a lot of people forget that I mean, I don't know about you. I know Big Ben was definitely one of the younger quarterbacks when he came in around that time, but Big Ben's still in that batch of Eli Manning, all of those old guy quarterbacks and stuff like that. And he's still playing too. And no, he's not playing at a high level. And yeah, maybe he should have got out when Eli got out type of thing. But he still has a really good team around him. And that's obviously why he's stuck around. So if he stays healthy, then why can't Big Ben alter his game a little bit to become the check down guy with I don't know. I think he can still, I think this team can still be competitive and stuff like that. It's just, they're in such a tough division, and I don't know. It's obviously sad to watch such a legendary quarterback and stuff like that, just fiddle out the way that he is and stuff. But yeah, it's definitely it for him. If this isn't his last season, then what the hell are you doing, Big Ben?
So going from an old quarterback at the end of his career to young quarterback. So I have Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones. You can, insert any other young QB, but just basically, is there a young quarterback that surprised you so far early in the season?
Let me
you can also like say wait and see if you like,
Yeah, I was just say, I mean, of the like, I mean, I think of like the rookie quarterbacks, like if we're thinking of those guys, I've been pretty impressed with Trevor Lawrence. I was never expecting a whole lot with the Jacks, like with the situation that he's in and stuff, but making the most of it and making the most of every drive, every pass, every play, I think is all that he can do. They're not going to win a whole lot of football games. He's not going to throw for 350 yards in his rookie year. I mean, if he does, it would be impressive. But like, I just think sitting there reading NFL defenses, sitting in the pocket, taking those hits, that's everything that we want to see from this guy right now. And honestly, I've been pretty impressed with him. I think that we'll see if he's worth the hype of the number one overall pick and stuff like that. But I do think that he was drafted. I don't know. I think that they spent their number one overall pick on the right guy, in my opinion. And obviously, we'll see once they actually get talent around this guy, what he can do. But I think he's already proving that he can at least like hang in the pocket and he can at least compete. But it's a little like weird for me to like go with him. So for me, I mean, dude, my young quarterback is it's probably kind of stupid, but Kyler Murray, just stupid in terms of how obvious it is. But I think just everything with that Cardinals team has been pretty ridiculous. And I think he's probably the early front runner. Like if you had to after 2 weeks and I had to do my way too early MVP candidate, it would probably be him as the easy front runner. So
yeah, I mean, he's taking that leap from so far this season from good quarterback to a great quarterback. So
I mean, he's proven that he can lead a team, to the next level and stuff. But what about you? Do you have any of those young quarterbacks that you like?
I think Jalen Hurts. So this kind of goes from last year. I think he, when he was thrown into the fire essentially with that team, I think he looked really good. There was that game against the Packers where he was making plays, making stuff happen. And he had a really nice touchdown in the corner of the zone. So I think he's just building on that. This season he's been given the reins. And I think he's only going to get better, to be honest. They haven't really done a great job of surrounding him with weapons. They have Devontae Smith, but Miles Sanders is decent. Goddard and Ertz is hurt, and I feel like they're up and down, and that defense has been okay. So, I think he's just gonna get better, and I feel like he's kind of maybe in a quarterback type of like Justin Fields, make scramble and make throws on the run. But yeah, I'm really curious to see how his career goes.
Yeah, no, and I've been rooting for him since day one. So happy to see that he's doing well. I mean, must have been a pretty shitty feeling when you come in, you play the way that you do, and your head coach doesn't back you. So I'm glad the organization has backed him, and it's a pretty damn good one to have in your corner, in my opinion. So I think it'll be, I think he'll be all right. And in terms of time, I think he has it there in Philadelphia. And I think he's already proven that he can make the most of the situations, no matter how crappy they can be. So yeah, this guy gives me, I think I've said it before, that he gives me total Baker Mayfield vibes, just with their competitive attitude and stuff. So yeah, I'm really rooting for him, and I'm glad that you mentioned him.
So let's get to our game previews. We have some good ones for week 3. I have the line here too. So first one is Chargers Chiefs. The Chiefs are 6.5 favorites. I'm really excited and happy that we get Mahomes versus Herbert twice a year. Two very fun offenses in what should be a high scoring game. A lot of playmakers, and this is a big game for you as well. AFC West matchup.
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned earlier with the Chiefs, it's all going to come down to their divisional matchups, and I didn't realize that they had one next. So Yeah, I think this one's going to be a lot of fun. I think more so, as much as we were talking about the Chiefs and stuff like that, I think this will be an interesting test for the Chargers, obviously with the head coach or a new head coach coming in there and stuff. It'll be interesting to see how they're able to compete or whether or not they get completely blown out of the water here. But regardless, I'm just expecting Justin Herbert to go off for like 300 yards hopefully. So
Mhm. Yeah, that Chiefs defense has looked very vulnerable.
yeah,
So I expect the, Herbert in his first start, right, against Kansas City last year, he played really well, and he's shown flashes of being a great quarterback. So yeah, I expect like Keenan Allen to have a big game. The secondary has shown weaknesses. Austin Eckler as well. And that's not only because I have both of them, but but yeah, it should be a fun one. All right, do you have a pick you're gonna make for this one?
I'm going Chiefs on this one. Yeah.
Chiefs. Um, I think we could just do like a who's gonna cover or
Yeah, I was gonna say even with their because 6.5, obviously, I'd still say they cover.
okay. I'll mark it down. Next one we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Rams. Actually, I'm gonna take the Chiefs too. I didn't try to mention, but the Chiefs. So we have the Rams and the Buccaneers. This is a rematch from last year. Rams beat Tampa Bay. Two of the best teams in the NFC, in my opinion, coming to LA. You know, I feel like the Rams are the perfect team to kind of disrupt this offense because of Aaron Donald and the interior pressure that the defensive line can get in. Historically, Tom Brady, one of his very few weaknesses is having pressure in the pocket, and that's how we saw the Giants beat them, how the Broncos beat them in the playoffs. So I think this defense can give them problems, and that's not even mentioning Jalen Ramsey in the secondary. So I think as long as the offense can put up points, it's hard for me to not be a homer, but I do like the Rams in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I just like the Rams in this one just because of everything about like this is the first Super Bowl champs at SoFi and stuff like that. I think that's going to be pretty fun. And just like one of the first, like I know they had Sunday Night Football and we said everything we did about that crowd, but this is going to be like everything coming out of that game. People were talking about like how freaking loud it was. Like it was absurdly loud in that. I mean, even coming out of the Cowboys playing at the Chargers last weekend and stuff, people were talking about how absurdly loud the Cowboys fans were. And like you walk out of that stadium with your ears ringing and stuff. So just the idea of the Bucks coming in for such a high profile matchup. I think this one's going to be really, really exciting. And yeah, I'll take the Rams just because of the whole home field advantage and just because of emotions and stuff. I don't necessarily think they're the better football team. I'm sorry. But I think somebody at some point, like you said, has to slow down Tom Brady and be better than Aaron Donald. So.
Next one, we have the New Orleans Saints coming into New England, face off the Patriots. Patriots are 3-point favorites. This one is really interesting because it's a matchup of Sean Payton versus Belichick. You have Belichick trying to figure out how to slow down Kamara, and just Sean Payton trying to figure out how to out chess and outduel his arguably the greatest coach of all time. So just like, what are your thoughts from this one?
I mean, like we said, I think week one was a little bit of an outlier with the Saints. So I'm a little worried about them, especially going in. If this was at home for the Saints, I think it would be a little bit of a different story. But Mac Jones coming off of his first win, feeling like like he belongs in this league and stuff. Going up against a defense that I'm not too worried about. Yeah, I just think Bill Belichick's just probably going to have his way in this one. He's kind of, I don't know what the stats are, but I think he's probably kind of always had his way with Sean Payton and stuff in history and stuff. So I just think, given that it's such a small spread and stuff, I'll take the Patriots in this one. I think Mac Jones has a nice solid win at home. His debut Gillette win. So
Yeah, 3-point line is like really close. I think that Vegas feels like they're two very evenly matched teams. I'm gonna go with the Saints on this one. I think Sean Payton has something dialed up for the Patriots. I think the offense will click a little bit more. And I think the defense will do just enough to force some turnovers on the young quarterback. They have playmakers on this offense, so I think that I think they'll pull out a close one.
yeah, fair enough.
In the last one, we have the Green Bay Packers against the Niners. The Niners have kind of been the thorn in the Packers side, knocking them out of 2 NFC Championship games and 2 games that weren't even close. So they'll look to have some revenge in San Francisco. The first 2 games, I think both teams kind of showed their weaknesses and their strengths. The Packers took care of the Lions, and the Niners had almost blew a massive lead in Detroit. But yeah, which way are you leaning, Reese?
This one's actually pretty hard for me just because I don't know about the Packers yet. I'm not convinced one way or the other on them. I'm not convinced that this whole team's bought in yet and that they're going to be like a championship caliber team. I think for a long time, just the play of Aaron Rodgers has masked a lot of problems and stuff. And until he starts playing at like an MVP, GOAT caliber level, we're going to be asking those questions. But on the other side, 49ers don't have much better answers at QB position, especially this year. So given the line and stuff, I don't trust the 49ers in this one, so I'll take the Packers on that. But I don't know, man. I still think the 49ers at home with a defense that I'm not completely convinced that this is the 49ers defense that we've been seeing and stuff, but I also don't think it's the Packers offense that we've seen, definitely masked by a monster performance by Aaron Jones last week. So yeah, I think I'll take the 49ers on the line here. So, but in terms of the game, I still think I don't know. I'm not convinced, I guess. What about you?
Yeah, this one is tough. I want to pick the home team. They've been beating the Packers, but I really think this is going to be the week that the Packers finally get over the hump.
Mm-hmm.
Niners are dealing with a lot of injuries in their backfield. I think they're on their 3rd or 4th running back right now. Kittle has kind of had a slow start to the season, at least receiving wise. I think Rodgers will be able to move the ball a little bit on the defense, and some Jimmy turnovers will flip the game. So I'm gonna take the Packers by a little bit.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm even taking the Packers to win this game the more that I think about it. Just with Aaron Rodgers back in the Bay and stuff. And I actually forgot about the injuries that they have at running back, the 49ers. So I
Mark
think
Fields for the Packers.
I think this one just goes slightly in their favor. As much as I think we want it to be like the 49ers, at home on Sunday Night Football, kind of break out of their shell, but I just don't think they get it done. Not saying that answers any more questions about the Packers, though.
So now we're gonna do our fantasy check-in. We're just gonna briefly talk about our fantasy leagues and have a stud and a dud of the week. So a player who was a stud and a player who was a dud. I can start it off. So I had a pretty rough week 1. I went 1-2 in my leagues, and in 2 of them I scored less than 8 points. So not the ideal start. But I had a pretty good week 2. Went 3-0 in all my leagues, and scored over 120 in each and every one of them. So, that's just how fantasy is. You have your ups, you have your downs. I just want to just point out Christian Manalo, the money team. So I put in a waiver request
Uh-oh, it's
for
getting personal.
so I hope he sees this. I'm playing him this week. I put in a waiver request for the Panthers defense we have a fantasy budget for $4. This dude puts up $10 for a defense. I didn't think anyone would spend that much on a defense. And now I have to see the Carolina Panthers defense line up against me on tomorrow for the Thursday night matchup, which I'm not happy about because I have the Panthers in another league as well. So it's like, do I want them to do well? I want them to do good, but I guess not too good. Yeah,
I like how he just said screw it and just threw the $10 down too.
yeah. Last year we had a $200 budget,
Yeah.
but this year's $100, and I saw that and I was like, oh wait, I'm not gonna be as crazy as I was last year because we have an extra week. It's a long season. But hey, some people um like
Some
spending money
people-
more than others.
and other people in our league, like freaking Thaddeus spending $80 on Elijah Mitchell
Yeah.
after week 1.
Yeah, and he's hurt, right? He's not even playing this week, so
Oh, poor
a lot of question
Thaddeus.
marks. A lot of question marks.
A lot of question marks with our free agency budget. So. Oh, that's funny.
So my start of the week, this is pretty easy. Derrick Henry showing why and who he is.
Easy.
I mean, 200 total yards, 3 touchdowns, just absolutely took over the second half. 60-yard touchdown run. He has these games where he'll just single-handedly win you the week. And I didn't need all 44 points this week, but I'll gladly take them.
Must have been nice.
All right, Reese, how about you?
Okay. Well.
Oh wait, sorry, I didn't say my dud. My dud, I have to say it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's kind of got onto a slow start. Fumbled the ball at the end of the game on Sunday night. And I also have him in 2 leagues, so it stings a little bit more. But I think he'll definitely pick it up in that offense. Sorry, Reese, go.
Yeah, no, I don't think you have a whole. Hopefully, as a second running back, not a whole lot to worry about with Clyde, but he'll be all right. But yeah, I started off with a dub in this league, a close one. Dude, actually, I should probably talk about that because in week 1, I was sitting watching the game at a brewery with Bobby and Brandon, watching that was the Ravens game that was going on, and freaking I basically won. I was playing against Lamar Jackson, and I watched my matchup lose on Monday Night Football because Lamar Jackson rushes, right? And he gets a couple yards, and I'm like, oh my God, it's done. And then Lamar Jackson fumbles, and I ended up winning by 1.4 points or something. So he had literally taken the lead by 0.6, and then a Lamar Jackson fumble ended up winning for me. So probably a little bit of a lucky win, and then I ended up getting smacked last weekend. So I don't think a star of the week or a stud of the week even really counts when you get smacked at, but Kyler Murray went off. He had 33 points, and he's been a stud both weeks. He's had 33 points both weeks. So this guy's been pretty ridiculous so far. So definitely my stud. In terms of my dud, Alvin Kamara was kind of the easy dud last week, but just in terms of like week over week, I drafted the Baltimore defense thinking that they were going to be solid, and they've been absolute shit so far. So they're probably going to be my dud of the week because everyone always wants to go skill players, but kickers and freaking defenses are important. And my defense sucks, and my kicker got his ass dropped this week. So that's how it was going down there.
Yeah, defenses and kickers win you games. So,
dude, championships.
Yeah, so I'm playing, as I mentioned, Christian this week. You are playing Ronak, I believe.
Yeah.
How many leagues are you in this year?
I'm in 3. So I got commissioned my family league. I'm in obviously our league, and then I have a league with my San Diego friends. So
okay, nice.
and I feel like I feel like this is a pretty important year for me because I wasn't that good in our homies league last year, so got a lot to prove there. I haven't won my San Diego league yet, so got to get back on top there. And then, you know, you always got to performance commish. So it's a big year for me. I got to win at least one of these leagues.
Yeah, I'm in 3 as well. And I would like to have. I had a pretty bad season last year, performance wise, and not up to par. So looking to right the ship. But even though it's been 2 weeks, for now, I feel like my teams are definitely built better long term this year than they were last year.
I need my guys to start performing. I need to have a little pep talk, a little Saturday night, Sunday morning pep talk, and they might be okay.
Team meeting.
Yeah, team meeting. I got to call a players only meeting. Say fuck this manager guy.
Like week 2, week 3 already.
That's funny.
Um,
I
yeah.
feel like with our fantasy check-in, we should start doing like a little like advice thing or something.
Oh yeah, like a start of the week or something, or like a sit.
Yeah, like a start of the week or like sell high type. I don't know, just some sort of piece of advice or something. I don't know.
Okay, yeah.
Something that
Definitely. I mean, I feel like fantasy is, this is the time of year where it's just always on our mind, or
exactly.
it's a 24-hour sport, I guess.
Yeah, dude, I hope people in the league aren't watching my my timestamps on my waiver wire ads because last night I woke up at like 2:30 and I was like, oh, like
It's
Tuesday
Wednesday.
night and a Wednesday morning waivers went there. So I freaking go on my phone and then I started doing stuff and I think I submitted something at like 3:14 in the morning or something.
Nice.
No, it's
24-hour sport.
yeah, it's bad.
I think that's all we have today. We'll definitely be back talking about all the games, the results, fantasy, and everything NFL. We're just getting started in this, the longest season ever in NFL history. I saw them advertising that. So much to talk about, and yeah, we'll be back soon. Reese, thanks again for being on the show.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me as always.
All right. Thank you guys for listening and catch you next time.